Unfortunately, I have a lot of missions that I just did not capture on GoPro, and I'm going to describe two of them today. The first two missions, if you can call it that, in Ukraine with the unit that I would spend most of my time with. So this was about 2 months into the war. So I arrived in Kharkiv City by train, and we took about a 2-hour drive down to our AO, which is about 5 kilometers away from the Russians. And as soon as we arrive, I'm not kidding, I probably had 1 hour where I was sorting out my gear, like filling out magazines and everything. And then we get a call that we need a mission right now. And the mission is going to be, we have some saboteurs that are in the area, in our AO, that need to be taken care of. And we were suspecting that they were using the radio tower that was in the area to go and broadcast some signals and broadcast troop movements of the Ukrainian forces. Our job was going to be to just storm in there, put everybody on the ground, and figure it out from there. Let SBU take care of it, but we just needed to secure the area. That was the first mission that we were going to do. I was loading up my magazines as we're driving to the staging area for this. We ended up getting to the staging area, and we met up with a Ukrainian team that was going to do this operation with us. Then we drove to a different location that was in the woods, and at that point the commanders were trying to get connected with SBU and SSO, and we were an SSO unit, but they needed to figure out exactly where this was coming from. So as we're waiting there, we put on some balaclavas, we had this group photo. We waited there for about an hour. Nothing happened. They said, we can't figure out exactly where they are. We know that they were using the radio in this forest that's around the radio tower, but we can't know for certain if it is the radio station. So it was called off. And we get driven back, and that was the first mission. There you go. And that's how a lot of Ukrainian missions are. And I've actually made a video about this. Like, this is just the reality of war. Like, you're not always going to get the cleanest mission statement, the cleanest mission. Everything goes according to plan. Most missions are called off. Most missions don't pan out as you think they are. And the second mission that I want to say was, I think, maybe the next day. And it was a drone mission. Again, our AO, or FOB, if you want to call it that, was about 5 kilometers away from the Russians, but we need to get closer if we're going to do a drone mission with the Mavic. We were going to push up about 500 meters away, just across the river that was separating us from the Russian element that we were going to sort of get intel on. And we were thinking that there was going to be some Russian armor there. I already had all my gear staged. I was ready to go. I knew that, okay, missions are going to come like that. I want to be ready. So I volunteered myself. We went out there. 4 guys for security, including me, and then our 1 drone operator. And we left in the vehicle, and as we're riding there, they're giving us advice because they've worked in this AO before. Me and my friend are the new guys, and the drive there was pretty good until we got about a kilometer away. Once we got a kilometer away, the roads were just pocketed with UXO of unexploded mortars, big craters. It was a very windy road. And they had told me this is a really dangerous area. Like, they've taken mortar fire as they're driving past this a month prior. And they haven't been in this AO in a while. We might get some pot shots. And as we're approaching this bend in the road, there's a big opening that's facing the river, and there's this big hill, probably 200-meter incline into a forest. And that's where the Russians are, and we need to just bolt across as fast as we can. So as soon as we got through that corner, us and the other Ukrainian vehicle that was behind us, we had 2 vehicles, so 1 team of about 5 of us, and then 1 team of Ukrainians. We end up bolting across. They were saying, have your rifles pointed at that direction through the window. If we take pot shots, you can just suppress that area. So I'm just laying in the back of this truck. It's going like crazy. We're going maybe 60 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour. And I've just got my rifle pointed that way. Luckily, nothing happened. We didn't have any pot shots. But as soon as we got across that open area and we got into this dirt road that led into this forest, as soon as we got there, there's a big divot of sand. And our vehicle goes straight into the sand and it doesn't go out. So the Ukrainian vehicle behind us moves out of the way and they sort of like go in front of us. And our vehicle is stuck. But we want to continue the mission. So we all get outside, we create a 360 perimeter around it, and the question arises, okay, we don't have direct visual contact with the Russians anymore. Good, we're in the forest, but we're really close. It was more of a pasadka, a tree line, and it was about 10 meters of forest, and then you'd be in visual contact of the Russians 500 meters away across that river. We were a little freaked out. We were thinking, we need to get this thing unstuck right now. So we went into the back of the vehicle, we picked up some shovels, some of us had some e-tools, and we were just trying to dig out this car and the tires that were stuck. But anybody who's had their car stuck knows that you can get panicked pretty quick. You can think, oh, maybe I can just try it a little bit more. You'll rev the vehicle, you'll turn the tires, and especially in a stressful situation, you want to get out as fast as possible. So the driver was just digging himself in until 3/4 of the tire was underneath the dirt. And that's when we knew we can't move this vehicle. We need to continue the mission. So we brought our drone operator into the Ukrainians' vehicle and 2 of our security, and they went out and they did the mission. And meanwhile, myself as security and my friend, as well as the Ukrainians, were going to be trying to unstuck this vehicle. Oh, and right before they left to go and do that mission, we did try and tie slings from our rifles. We took them off. We tied it to each vehicle, and they snapped. And then it was one of the Ukrainian slings, and he was like, "Oh my god." He was so upset. But we don't have time to be upset. So we just dug for like another hour, just in the middle of this forest, hoping to God that nobody's looking at it. No grenade drop from a drone is gonna kill us, or mortar fire, or some machine gun burst, because they know that we're in this forest. So us and the Ukrainians trade out from security to digging until eventually we finally got it out. Yay. But we were about an hour into it. We know that the drone team was gonna be coming back soon. So we just sort of waited at the edge of this tree line, and we pushed out to the point where we could see the Russians. And we didn't have any binoculars or anything. I didn't see any movement. Maybe it's just some OP observation post up there looking at us, not really minding us too much. They know that we have drones. They know that we're surveying them. But at the same time, it was still freaky. And it was still kind of dumb to stay at the edge of this tree line where they last saw us. So when the drone team came back, we got a well-deserved chewing out, okay? These guys were pissed off, saying, "Why did you just keep the vehicle there? Once you had it out, why didn't you move it?" Now, we had a couple reasons. We didn't want to get it stuck again. We had already turned the vehicle and into this area that we would be able to exit quickly if we needed to. And we wanted to stay close to the drone team on that side of the forest instead of across that open area. But nonetheless, the drone team came back. It was a successful mission. They've had missions in the past where it was not successful. It was jammed, the drone goes down, and guys had to swim across that river, retrieve the drone, and come back. That has happened. Not this time though. And then we ended up driving back across that open area where they have taken pot shots before, and we know that the Russians are looking at us. We get back safely. We go across that crazy road with all the UXO. We're pointing it out on the road as we're driving. But near the end of that really bad segment of road, the inevitable happens. Our tire pops. I think it was the passenger side rear tire. We heard it out the window first, and then the vehicle started moving kind of weird, and I knew instantly this is a pop tire. So I said, "Hey, stop the vehicle," and we all stopped. We all got into a 360, but myself, I changed a lot of tires in Iraq. Like every day it would pop. And there's a lot of shrapnel, there's a lot of shit around. I knew exactly what we needed to do. So I jumped out, I went into the back of the vehicle, trying to look for a lift, trying to make sure we can change this tire as fast as possible. We end up finding it, I get it there, I start unscrewing the caps, and then one of the guys said, no, I can take it from here. I go to security. We heard some artillery in the distance, but nothing close. And yeah, we changed the tire, thankfully, and we get out of there. And again, this was a really scary moment. We knew that there was artillery and mortar fire at this position before, and just being stuck there, even for 5 minutes, really, really bad. But luckily, I was thinking on my feet. I was able to get down there, catch the vehicle before it deflated completely. We had an extra tire, and yeah, it worked out really well. Anyway, guys, those are missions that I never got on GoPro. Nothing much happened, but at the same time, hopefully you guys were able to sort of immerse yourself into that and kind of understand what the first missions of the war were like in some situations. Obviously, my first mission in Ukraine was a lot different, but at this point, it was kind of a stagnant front line. We knew what we were going up against. We already had familiarity with the AO from the guys who had been there a while. And yeah, thanks for listening. Really appreciate you guys. I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.